You're listening to iFanboy Talksplode, Justice for Hire. Hey, welcome to another edition of iFanboy Talksplode. My name is Ron Richards, and this week we've got an exciting podcast for you where we're talking to the folks behind Justice for Hire, an exciting motion comic animation project that's available to read up on Graphicly. First up, we're going to be talking with Jan Lucanis and Jan C. Childress, a father and son writing duo who are the creators of Justice for Hire. And Jan Lucanis is actually the president and founder of Creative Impulse Entertainment, the company releasing Justice for Hire. We chat with them about what the comic is, what you can expect from it, as well as Jan Childress's long history of working in comics with folks like Jim Shooter. But stay tuned to the end of the podcast because we're going to be talking about an exciting contest about Justice for Hire where you can animate some portions of the motion comic, submit it, get reviewed by celebrity judges, and you could win. So it's pretty cool. So take a listen to what Jan and Jan have to say, and then later on we'll be talking to some of the folks behind the animation side of it. Okay, so I am here with the director, co-creator, and co-writer of Justice for Hire, Jan Lucanis. How you doing, Jan?
How you doing, Ron?
Very good, very good. And we're also joined by the Justice for Hire, also co-creator and co-writer, and Jan Childress. How you doing, Jan?
Very well, thank you, Ron. I'm very happy to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So you guys have worked together before in the past, right? You guys, or you've never met before this project?
Well, as father and son, I've worked with Jan all his life.
That's what I figured. So we're here to talk about the exciting Justice for Hire project that has recently, the Justice for Hire event was recently announced, working with our parent company at Graphicly and with you guys at Creative Impulse Entertainment, as well as Real Illusion and Willow Road Animation. It's pretty exciting. So younger Jan, why don't you tell us what is Justice for Hire?
So, Justice for Hire takes place in an alternate now when the U.S. government's passed the Retribution Act and allows private counter-terrorist forces to drive around the states, and that basically translates into the average citizen being able to hire their own justice team to execute their own form of whether it's revenge or you need someone's stolen something from you and you need to get it back. It's your form of retribution, your form of justice, and these teams can be hired down the street from you. They're in your neighborhood, they're in your city, they're in your town. Every state has one. So it's a whole industry of justice vigilantes. Vigilantism turned legal. Cool.
Very cool. So now recently Justice for Hire number 0 came out on Graphicly, and there was also a motion comic that came out with it as well. What is your kind of approach in terms of putting out Justice for Hire, in terms of doing the comic plus motion comic and that sort of thing?
Well, we released season 1, which is issues 1 through 4, all of which are available on Graphicly. Issue number 0, of course, is it's very much a prequel to the entire industry. It kind of shows a hint of how the retribution industry began, and it's a little bit grittier, of course, because it's the beginnings of the industry rather than issues 1 through 4 in season 1. Our approach has been creating the world. We first started with the JFH comics back in December of 2007 when we first came out in print, and we were the first company to come out with DVDs, live action DVDs packaged with every issue of the comic that had a supplemental live action mixed martial arts content on it that tied into the storylines of the book. And the book was, Dad started writing the original Justice for Hire comic script when I was at film school at NYU, and JFH was my senior thesis project, and we were shooting a whole bunch of Justice for Hire shorts while in school, and Dad expanded on the world and really made it the industry that it is, and we ran with that and turned it into a feature screenplay and readapted that into a comic series. And we've been building out the world for a while and really just seeing how this retribution industry and all the crazy characters that you can fit into it really gel together and just create this colorful cast of maniacs and heroes and ex-military guys, ex-cons. I mean, it's just a really great great world to play around in. So with the motion comic, we said, hey, let's take issue number 1 of JFH and show how it's supposed to feel cinematically. In comics, sometimes you can get that across, and that's been one of the goals of Justice for Hire, is getting across the cinematic vision of it. And we really feel that the motion comic is the closest yet that we've come to realizing this Justice for Hire world in the scope that we wanted.
Very cool, very cool. So I want to get back to the kind of cinematic approach in the animation stuff, but Elder Jan, I wanted to touch upon your career in comics. You worked with Jim Shooter, I heard.
I did.
Yeah. So how did that all come about?
Well, it was very interesting. It came about as a result of a complaint that I had regarding what I perceived as the lack of diversity in Jim's early launch of his Valiant imprint.
Okay.
And I think at that point he had 2 or 3 titles out. And so I had some concerns, and at someone's suggestion, Jim was located right in New York City, so I took my complaint directly to him. And at the time, I was writing for the Marvel Zombie Society. I was part of their APA. And he invited me over to take a look at his operation and some of the plans he had. And indeed, he did have plans, and ultimately launched a number of titles that were rich in diversity and well-written, well-crafted all around. And I wrote a piece for the Marvel Zombie Society, and he later invited me to do a magazine article on the launch of his second imprint, which was Defiant.
I remember Defiant.
And after doing that, Jim invited me to write for him, and to write specifically the Good Guys title. And it was very interesting that his vision of Defiant included workshops for aspiring writers. So he was very much a teacher, very much a mentor, and a mentor to me personally. And remembering that Jim began writing at the tender age of 14 when he was writing the Legion of Superheroes for DC Comics. And I think in my experience with working for Jim, the biggest lesson that I learned from him, which I incorporate today even in my business writing, is to always do 3 drafts before I submit anything for review. And that was a lesson that was instilled in him and has served me well all these years.
Interesting. I've actually never heard that advice in terms of writing 3 drafts. What is it? Is there a draft and review process that goes on from there, or is it just in an effort to refine it as best as you can?
To refine it as best you can.
Very cool. So, was there any other kind of comic book writing lessons that you learned from Jim Shooter, or kind of advice, aside from the multiple drafts that you kind of took from him that you applied to the writing of Justice for Hire here?
There were a number of lessons. One of the things that Jim is, of course, a very gifted, talented person. His flair for action and his knack for getting the reader immediately involved in the storyline and specifically in the characters, and getting the reader to care about the characters was a skill that an art form that I picked up from Jim. Very, very important. I've been myself a comic book fan since age about 8.
Wow.
And I know as a discerning reader that if I don't care about characters, and if I don't care about characters very quickly into the story, then I'm not apt to finish the story at all. And that's whether it's a comic book or a novel.
Yeah, it seems to always come down to character. That's been my experience as well.
Absolutely,
so, yeah.
Absolutely.
So one of the aspects of Justice for Hire that's interesting and that we've mentioned is the involvement of martial arts, as not as a device or as a aspect of it. Jan, what is the how do you see martial arts fitting into the world of Justice for Hire, and why make it such an important part of it?
For me, the father,
Yep.
martial arts for me has become a way of life. The beauty of martial arts is that it in the end it will unify the mind, body, and spirit in a way that yoga does or aspires to do. And so it is all encompassing. And so it mixes beautifully with the ideas that my son and I have for Justice for Hire. These key characters in Justice for Hire, in their own way, are striving to reach the summit of living. And they are doing it in part through the practice of the martial arts. They are doing it also in the path that the business Justice for Hire is taking.
Interesting. And younger Jan, how do you see martial arts, kind of playing from a cinematic aspect and actually the, showing the martial arts in the comics as well as then translating it to the animation?
For us, especially with Dad and I competing in martial arts as we do on the same team as we have for years, it's always been important for us to break down the moments that are happening, within a flash, and that's something that we've worked together with our teams on. We've had great coaching on ourselves. It's to really pay attention to the little things, the angle, the positioning, the timing of a martial movement, of a martial moment, and everything that can happen between the thought of a move and the execution of it. There's an entire evolution of the bodies that are constantly flowing together. And so, we practice Tai Chi. That's our base style, and we do Kung Fu and do a bunch of other martial arts as well, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But it's from the Tai Chi perspective, there's just always the slowness of the movements allows you to really feel the evolution of each technique and how at any given moment you can change the course of your action. So for JFH, whether it's shooting the live action choreography that we've done many times before, or it's the comic book choreography or the animation, it's always about these moments for us and being able to articulate them to the viewer or the reader. And with the issue number 0, we were pushing the boundaries even more than we've done before, and really looking at these moments and saying, hey, look, live fighting whether it's in real combat outdoors or whether it's in a competition as a sport, it gets sloppy at times. So how can you break down these moments for someone who doesn't do the martial arts and make it entertaining for them? So with the animation, Zach did an incredible job of taking the live action footage that we shot based on the comic. We actually brought in some of our fight team and put them in front of the camera and redid the choreography from the comic at the same exact angle that it was portrayed in the comic book, and just want to allow Zach to take these panels of the comic book art and get all these little details of a movement, of the evolution of a movement, whether it's an arm bar and someone, Ivory snapping a bad guy's arm and holding his gun down to the side and saying, hey, look, if you lift your hips up at this angle, you'll snap the elbow at this angle, and all these things have to happen. His head has to tilt back, and the other guy's, your leg is going to go across his neck and it's going to push down. And there's all these things that are happening, and they're so much fun to really practice, but it's also, incredible to get them out and convey them to the audience and in a way that's dramatic.
Very cool, very cool. And so, in terms of, applying that same level of drama, how do you work to keep that drama aspect consistent from the comic to the motion comic to the live action stuff? Are you storyboarding in advance, or how much how much goes into each medium as you translate it from each medium?
Well, the live action is the basis of everything. I mean, the Justice for Hire started as live action shorts that I was shooting from 99 and up. So that was high school. So I mean, anytime we do a comic book issue and we're doing an action scene, I'll make sure to get fighters together, real fighters together, and shoot with a camera every shot. So we'll actually go through live action choreography, break that down, and shoot it as reference for our artist Antonio Rojo, who's he's out in Spain, but we've been working together on JFH since like 05 or 06. So it's been a while, but our workflow has just gotten really efficient. And we'll pre-panel the pages to make the smoothest fight choreography moment per page, and again really capturing that the grittiness of the live action of what happens in a live combat scenario, where you can mess up, you can be throwing a punch and then suddenly slip. And
sure. So now you had mentioned that that a lot of this work went into Justice for Hire issue number 0. What are your plans for the Justice for Hire comic? You're going to expand issue number 0. Are there going to be more issues to come? What is the future of Justice for Hire?
Well, issue 0, we released part 1. I mean, the whole we released part 1 of issue number 0 last week on Graphically, and part 2 will be ready in a few weeks. So we'll be releasing as well during this JFH event contest, and during the JFH free for all event, and you'll be able to see a lot more of the choreography we're talking about in this part 2. And we're just building out the world, the Justice for Hire world. We have a bunch of exciting developments right now that are going to be expanding the universe, the whole Retribution universe, which includes the whole cast of characters at Justice for Hire Incorporated, but also all the other teams that really make up this this really exciting industry of actioners. So it's going to be fun.
So yeah, so you mentioned the JFH event. Why don't you tell us, kind of, I know what's going on, but in your words, kind of what was the kind of inspiration behind the JFH event and the contest that we're currently running on Graphically?
Well, the inspiration was, we put together the with Willow Road Animation, doing an incredible job on their side. We put together this animation and said, hey, we're going to pre-visualize what the cinematic experience of Justice for Hire is in motion comic form. And we were really inspired by Neil Adams' Astonishing X-Men motion comic, and that was pretty much the first motion comic that made us say, hey, there's something to this motion comic animation style, because before that, everything we've seen that we had seen up to that point, the mouths didn't even move, and Neil was combining 3D graphics and full body movement, and just really taking the Astonishing X-Men comic and realizing it in a magical way. So and to have Neil on this as a special guest viewer on this JFH event is just such an honor to us. So with our intention with taking the motion comic route, we want to make sure that if we're doing something, we have to use the Astonishing X-Men as the bar. We have to shoot for at least that, if not beyond, and we have to really engage the animation community and say, hey, look, let's take the motion comic medium together to a new place, because it's so cool. There's so many comic books out there that deserve this type of treatment, and to be able to engage the fans on a level of having real illusion involved with their Crazy Talk technology, which really allows you to bring these characters to life in terms of the head movement and the voiceovers, and be able to offer all the fans all those tools right at their fingertips, right on our ready to download on the event page on Facebook. It's just really exciting for us. So I mean, we're really putting out a call to the animation community to say, hey, look, let's play around with motion comics, and let's make the art form, let's evolve the art form together.
And so, how has the reaction been? Have you heard from folks inside animation and that sort of thing? Have you experienced a lot of excitement, a lot of questions about it, or?
We're getting emails, on a daily basis, which is cool. Just from I mean, not just animators, but just from across the industry, which is great. Just some great feedback on the Justice for Hire overall experience. Everything from the animation, the motion comic, the issue number 0, and just how that reintroduces people that even have already known about the Justice for Hire property and know about the characters. It gives them a different perspective on the world. So it's really cool to get that response. And on the animation side, it's going to take people a little bit of time to download and animate their own Justice for Hire action sequence, and we're providing that for them right on the JFH Facebook page, the fan page. So once those animators have had a chance to blast through their own action sequence and are ready to post it on our fan page for guys like Neil Adams and Dad here and Ahmed Best and John Machado to really take a look at and give some great feedback on. We'll really see the fan response at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who might not be aware, if you go to graphly.com/comics, there's a banner where you can click over to it, and we have a whole blog post explaining what the event is. But people could also find the Justice for Hire page on Facebook, and that's really where it all happens. Where by liking the page, then you get all the information. You can download the animation tools and the other things, and submit your entry, and then it's all going to get judged later this spring, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, no, it's really exciting. It's really interesting to see the merging of animation and cinematography and comics and coming together into kind of one big project. That's very, very cool. So in terms of what's in terms of the future, I know you mentioned the future of the JFH comic book. Is there going to be more film stuff or more animation stuff? Or where do you see JFH going in the long term, like a year from now or so?
There's definitely going to be more live action very, very soon. There's going to be some game stuff that we'll be announcing soon as well. That's really freaking awesome, and of course more comics. So it's again the cast of characters in the JFH world it's just so vast, and myself and Dad and the rest of our team have just been coming up with new characters on a regular basis that are just kind of adding to the wealth of this creative universe. So it's a lot of fun, and we're going to be expanding on it regularly and seeing having this event, the JFH event on Graphically, which is the only place you can get the JFH issue number 0 for free. Fans should know that, and just jump on and read it and check it out and share it. It's an exciting time for Justice for Hire. And for mixed martial arts and action cinema and animation and all this stuff kind of combining on one project. It's pretty freaking cool.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, I think that about wraps it up. I want to thank you guys for your time. I know you're both super busy in your busy schedules, but Jan, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah, Ron, thanks so much.
All right, next up we talk with Zach Shelton, who is the lead animator on Justice for Hire and the founder of Willow Road Animation, and John Martin, who's the vice president of Real Illusion, which is the company behind the software that's used in the JFH motion comic. So let's hear what they've got to say about the project. So I am here with two of the key members of the JFH project, Zach Shelton, who's the lead animator and founder of Willow Road Animation. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. And John Martin, the vice president at Real Illusion. How you doing, John?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So diving right in, Zach, I wanted to ask you about the animation behind JFH and exactly what went into it, because it seems to be there was a lot of action in this series, and a lot of whether it's the martial arts aspects and things like that. So how did you approach the animation of the project?
Yeah, well, the motion comics are kind of interesting in the sense that, obviously you're taking a static image and you're trying to push the animation part of it as far as possible. So really, we started with storyboards, just like any other animation process. And then luckily we have Jan and his team of team of martial artists, which sounds actually kind of funny when I say it, who go ahead and they shoot like each action sequence. And sometimes we were going over the footage afterwards, and like they're actually hitting each other, which is actually kind of amazing. So basically, what we do is we look at each channel and say, all right, well, this is what we want to have happen here, and we take each channel, we cut it, we separate it, and then we redraw the backgrounds. And that's really kind of one of the more painstaking processes is taking that background artwork and trying to match it as much as possible. So once we do that, it's really just taking this artwork and matching it as closely as we can to the fight choreography.
Cool. So now in terms of, the fight choreography and things like that, did you go through any particular research before approaching the animation, or did you just kind of take the footage and animate it from there, or did you do any sort of fight research or choreography research?
Yeah, well, obviously we're all kind of big fans of martial arts films and all that over the years, but Jim also kind of thought it would be a good idea to try to have kick my ass a little bit. So he brings me into the dojo that he trains at with his team, and for about 6 months actually we did about 2 days a week worth of kickboxing and push hands.
Wow. So you actually fought, basically.
Well, I tried. I tried my best.
Yeah.
So it's hard going up against somebody like Jan who's a little bit more experienced than I am. But it was a lot of fun.
Very cool, very cool. So in order to do the animation, you used Crazy Talk from Real Illusion. John, can you tell us more about Real Illusion and what exactly Crazy Talk is?
Absolutely. So Crazy Talk was something that entered the project by way of Zach and their search for a solution for the facial animation. Dealing with motion comics, I think one of the biggest questions is to talk or not to talk. Do the talk bubbles from the comic carry over and just become animated elements that also guide you through, or do you take the plunge and go into facial animation? And so the facial animation is what kind of brought them in our direction, and what we do is facial animation at the core. We're a software company. Our interest in comics is mainly we're big fans of them, and so when we learned of the project that Zach and Willow Road was working on, we were really excited to jump in and help them as best we could. Crazy Talk is our flagship product, and this software enables you to basically make any image or photograph talk. And so in the comics world, you can take an illustration and bring it into our software, and in just a few minutes you set it up into basically what becomes a digital puppet. And then that puppet you can animate with our core technology for facial animation that allows you to just record some audio and then bring a digital puppet or an illustration to life with facial animation. Now from there, it's purely an artistic nuance on how you tune the motion and what kind of puppeteering you might want to do on the face to get the emotional response that you want. And that's what Zach and his team have been so great at. But Crazy Talk is a really fast way for you to be able to animate digital images, and in this case, illustrations for motion comics. The output is really handy for anyone doing video. You can export HD, or you can get even green screen kind of footage that allows you to bring it into the post process, which is what Zach and the team did on their project, and keep it into a pipeline. So our software is really designed for anyone to get involved into animation, from beginners. We have students starting out at young ages all the way up to professionals that are in the industry now. So we're happy to be a part of the Free Fall event and put some heavy-hitting animation technology behind this event.
Very cool, very cool. So, and now Zach, so Willow Road Animation did the animation of the project. Aside from Crazy Talk, were there any other products or any other tools that you guys used for the animation? And how big is Willow Road? Like, how many people did it take to do this whole project?
Well, Willow Road's really small. It's only 2 people.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. My background's in like TV production. And my sister, who's my business partner, she was actually a retired ballerina, but always been like an amazing, naturally talented illustrator. Excuse me. So, so she had some work done. She had done some work that was in a few museums here in New York City. Cool. And it was actually like a dinner party where like one of her friends was like, "Oh, it'd be so great to see some of your work move." And that's kind of where the beginning of our company was. But as far as like the software that we use, in addition to Crazy Talk, most of the animation is done in After Effects, where we do all the compositing and actual like puppeteering work. And the 3D shots, excuse me, was done in Maya.
Okay. Yeah, Maya seems to be pretty standard in terms of the animators and things like that. So very cool. So
yeah.
So John, in terms of how independent publishers can utilize Crazy Talk and also Zach also in terms of approaching animation, like do you guys have any any sort of advice or any sort of guide that you would provide? If I was a creator who had a comic book and I wanted to make a motion comic out of it, what kind of pitfalls or obstacles did you encounter that you weren't quite aware of before you started the project?
Well, definitely on my side, I would say try to do it with more than just 2 people. Yeah. That's always a good start. It's really the thing about motion comics is, again, trying to take this 2D artwork and really try to push the motion, the animation part of it as far as you can. I think all too often you see a lot of motion comics that feel really static. At that point, you might as well just be reading a comic book. That's always a challenge, is to try to push this 2D artwork kind of to its breaking point.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, John, do you have any advice for aspiring animators?
I think for people getting started, the best advice I would give is try. Right now is the best time to try to bring some creation to life, because the ecosystem for an audience has never been better for anyone at any level of storytelling. The method to get your story out there right now and really gain an audience is incredible. And so tools, like from Reallusion and other companies as well that are designed to facilitate that, we'd like to facilitate that in the way of motion comics and animation. And so for people getting started, the tip that I would have is, with our software, with Crazy Talk, through the Justice for Hire, free for all, you can get a 60-day version of the software, and there's free tutorials online, free videos that can show you how really to literally get started. So, if you've never animated before, or even if you have, there's a way to get involved with the event and try animation.
Yeah, very cool. So, so that said, as I'm sure you guys are aware of all the stuff that's going on with JFH and the contest and things like that. And John, you guys are making a demo of Crazy Talk available to those who are participating in the event?
That's right. So we do have a 60-day full version of Crazy Talk Pro that's available through the competition or through the event. Users can go to I believe the Facebook landing page is the main site. You can also visit reallusion.com to get more information on it, and then get a 60-day version of the software. It'll give you all the features of the full Pro license and give you a chance to give them the test drive for 60 days.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm sure somebody sitting at home wanted to give it a try and wanted to give animation a stab. This is a great way to get started. So now also part of the event is there's going to be a kind of panel of celebrity guest judges or viewers or whatever who are going to be looking at the work and really kind of, and the starting point is the JFH motion comic. Zach, how does it feel to have folks like Neil Adams and other folks, celebrities like that, taking a look at your work and then judging the rest of the work?
Well, it's kind of funny. It's like I geek out just as much, I think, as anybody else would. Like Neil Adams is looking at my work, somebody with that kind of pedigree. Also, like John Machado is another person that's on our panel who, is kind of a legend in the martial arts world. One of the first guys to bring Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to the United States. So, like, having those kind of guys looking at our work, they know their stuff. So, like, they're going to judge us the hardest, it's pretty special to be in that kind of situation.
Yeah. Very exciting, that's for sure. Cool. So, great. So, I think that about wraps it up. So, John, if people are interested in Real Illusion and Crazy Talk, where should they go? What's your website and all that sort of stuff?
They should come to the website at Reallusion, RealLusion.com, and find out more about 2D animation with Crazy Talk, and then our 3D animation with iClone, where we've just launched support for Connect for Windows. So you can learn about motion capture with iClone there as well.
Very cool. And Zach, if people are interested in Willow Road Animation, where can they find you guys at?
Go to willowrd.com. You can also see links there to the JFH Free for All event.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much, and be looking forward to see what people do with Crazy Talk and with the JFH motion comic assets.
Great, Ron. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
And a big thanks goes out to everybody involved in Justice for Hire and chatting with us to tell us about the project. And if you're interested in Justice for Hire, head over to Graphically, where you can read Justice for Hire number 0 for free, as well as you can check out the interesting information over on Justice for Hire's Facebook fan page about an exciting contest they have, that if you're an up-and-coming animator and you want to give it a shot to get your work reviewed by such great folks like Neil Adams, you can definitely do that. And you can use Real Illusion's tools to do that, submit it, get the panel of celebrity judges to take a look at it, and you might find yourself, you might actually win. And you can find the link for that in the show notes for this show. And check out Justice for Hire number 0 on Graphically. You can read it totally for free. We'll include a link to that in the show notes as well. So until next time, I'm Ron Richards, and enjoy your comics. Justice spreading